How quickly did this suddenly evolve, Ali?
How quick? Say it again. Sorry.
How quickly did it evolve? Because it feels like suddenly there's a wealth of news around OpenAI and certain relationships with Microsoft.
Yes, indeed. You know, Caroline, I think we're going to look back on 2023 as the year that life changed because of AI and because of these innovations led by OpenAI and Microsoft. And frankly, it's dizzying how fast they're innovating and how fast these innovations are coming out. At the same time, I think we're still only seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Ali, give us an idea of how many of the startups that you would generally see were in the world of artificial intelligence. How many would you have, and suddenly has it become a whole lot more?
I would say it's like a gravitational force that's pulling all companies, not just startups, all of the tech industry to realize this is the new platform, this is the new technology that everybody needs to embrace or be disrupted. And the comparison I would make is think about how much life changed when the iPhone came out. You know, and imagine your life before the iPhone or before the smartphone, how much you depend on it today. I think it's going to be similar. And the other analogy I'd make, though, is for the first year and a half, the iPhone had no app store. It had no apps. It was just the phone with it, you know, what it came with. And that's what OpenAI has been. That's what ChatGPT has been for the past, several months, has been just, OpenAI's raw technology. But this is the tip of the iceberg, because the true incredible transformation is going to be all the things that third-party companies and startups build using this technology, using OpenAI and Azure.
Like what? What are the most obvious fits at the moment do you think are going to scale, add to our productivity, and ultimately make you a lot of money?
Yes. Although I would say my imagination is limited and pales compared to the imagination of the dozens and hundreds of incredibly innovative, young people coming up with new ways to use this technology. But what I can tell you is that if you are a 20-something software engineer, maybe a few years out of college, working at a great tech job, there's no better way to maximize your impact in the world than to start a company right now building with AI. And that's why we created this Startup Accelerator, with help from OpenAI and Microsoft, to provide a boost to these first-time founders who have the potential but might need the extra encouragement and extra support to aim higher and maximize their potential.
How do you ensure, because let's just for a moment think about the hype cycle around crypto when suddenly everyone was putting blockchain in their name. How do we ensure that the companies that are willing to write checks, whether they be the big tech giants with a whole load of cash on balance sheet, or whether they're the VCs that still have money to put to work, how do they make sure that they are backing a company that is truly innovative in the space of AI and using it as a core technology rather than just bolting it on?
Honestly, I don't think there's any way to be certain of things. And as an early stage investor, you have to recognize that you can't be sure. You're taking risk. And as an early stage founder, you're taking risk. And, people who aren't comfortable with that usually don't become founders. But I am absolutely certain that this is where the focus of innovation is going to be, and that some of these companies are going to be the transformative companies, just like companies like Uber, Tinder, number of companies that were enabled by the iPhone that just weren't possible before the existence of the iPhone, and as well as everything else pivoted to build using the iPhone, right? Even existing companies like services like Gmail worked before the iPhone, but now where do you use your Gmail? Mostly on your phone. And in a similar way, I foresee that within a few years we will see that almost everything you use is going to use these technologies like OpenAI and Azure.
And very briefly, are they all being born in the US? Are you looking for foreign innovators?
We are, I'd say we're agnostic. I think one of the wonderful things about the United States is that it is a beacon for immigrants. It is a land of opportunity. And also the great universities of the United States attract the brightest and hardest working from across the world. So most of our founders are people who studied at American or North American universities, but that draws the best from across the world.